I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
What you just watched was your favorite Brock Lesnar openly insulting one of UFC's biggest sponsors right after winning one of the greatest matches of his career. This wasn't the first or the last time the Beast Incarnate did something wild that sparked massive backlash. Remember when he crashed Hulk Hogan's birthday celebration and mocked him live on air? Not every off-script moment from Lesnar was negative, though. There were also times when he broke character to genuinely help his fellow wrestlers. Let's take a deep dive into some of Brock Lesnar's most controversial moments. Our journey begins with an incident that shook the UFC to its core. It was July 11th, 2019, at UFC 100, one of the most anticipated nights in mixed martial arts history. Brock Lesnar stepped into the octagon for a rematch against Frank Mir, with fans eagerly waiting to see who would come out on top. But what happened after the fight would overshadow the victory itself. Still fueled by adrenaline, Lesnar used his post-fight interview to make a shocking statement that no one saw coming. He openly insulted one of UFC's biggest sponsors.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
The audacity of Brock Lesnar's statement left everyone in shock. It was a direct slap in the face to one of UFC's biggest sponsors, delivered with the kind of fearless confidence only Lesnar could pull off. The reactions were immediate. UFC President Dana White looked visibly stunned, and officials rushed to contain the fallout. But while that moment was just an insult, the next controversy tied to Lesnar was far darker. The wrestling world was soon shaken by the Vince McMahon sexual trafficking scandal, one of the most disturbing chapters in professional wrestling history. In the middle of it all, Brock Lesnar's name unexpectedly surfaced in allegations that left both fans and insiders reeling. The scandal revolved around Vince McMahon, the powerful WWE chairman, who was accused of attempting to traffic a woman named Janelle Grant to Brock Lesnar. The claims were explosive reports suggested that McMahon coerced Janelle into creating explicit material meant for Lesnar, hoping it would lure him back to WWE. McMahon allegedly believed that Lesnar's return would skyrocket ratings and bring in massive revenue for the company. To fully understand the seriousness of these allegations, we need to revisit the timeline of Lesnar's career after his initial successful run in WWE. Lesnar left WWE in 2004 to explore new opportunities, including a short stint in the NFL and what would become a highly successful run in mixed martial arts. He eventually made his dramatic return to WWE in 2012, stepping back into the spotlight with intense rivalries and high-profile matches that reminded fans why he was called the Beast Incarnate. Despite the controversy surrounding his name at times, one thing that always kept people talking was his unmistakable chest tattoo. Not many Brock Lesnar moments have sparked as much conversation as his infamous sword tattoo, a design that some say looks rather questionable in shape and placement. According to Lesnar, the tattoo symbolizes a dark and difficult time in his life when he felt as if a sword was constantly hanging over his head. It represents the immense pressure and uncertainty he faced and stands as a permanent reminder of the struggles he overcame. Yet, despite its personal meaning, the public saw it differently. Many fans couldn't help but notice its unusual design, leading to countless jokes and memes suggesting it resembled something far more explicit than a sword. The controversy surrounding the tattoo began almost immediately after Lesnar revealed it. With social media erupting in mixed reactions, some appreciated its bold symbolism, while others simply couldn't get past its peculiar appearance. While others couldn't get past the tattoo's suggestive look, at least Brock wasn't accused of racism over it. That controversy came from his comments instead. Brock Lesnar has never been one to hold back his words, but one particular remark about his genetics triggered a storm of backlash and accusations of racism. This happened during a 2009 feature interview with Maxim magazine, at a time when Lesnar was at the peak of his physical dominance. In the piece, he tried to explain the source of his incredible athletic ability, but ended up making statements that would follow him for years. Lesnar claimed his success came from his genetics, saying he had passed dozens of drug tests and never needed steroids, crediting his body to natural gifts. However, the controversy erupted when he added that he was built like a black man, suggesting that not everyone was created equal, a line that many found deeply offensive and racially insensitive. As if that backlash wasn't enough, Lesnar soon faced another wave of criticism, this time over alleged homophobic remarks. During SummerSlam 2016, tensions exploded backstage after his match with Randy Orton. Chris Jericho, known for his fiery personality, confronted Lesnar over what he believed were dangerously stiff elbow shots to Orton's head. The heated exchange quickly escalated, and reports claimed that Lesnar made homophobic comments during the altercation, further fueling his reputation. For crossing the line both inside and outside the ring, the brutal match with Randy Orton didn't just leave fans shocked, it also put Orton's health at serious risk. As the two wrestling giants faced off, the tension backstage reached a breaking point. Lesnar, known for his intimidating presence and short temper, reportedly threw homophobic slurs at Chris Jericho during the heated confrontation, only making the situation worse. Despite the massive size difference, Jericho didn't back down for a second. Fueled by anger and concern for Orton's safety, he stood his ground and even went as far as threatening to bite Lesnar's nose off. The altercation became one of the most talked about backstage incidents in modern WWE history, showcasing just how explosive things can get when pride, emotion, and raw aggression collide behind the curtain.
Got into a little bit of an issue, and I was like, this guy, I don't give a how big he is, I don't care. That's wrong. And I will fight to the death. If I will stand up for what I believe in to the death. And I remember being like literally nose to nose with the guy, and he's laughing, and he's like, he was actually saying things that would probably get him canceled if I said them to him now. Like homophobic terms that you shouldn't be saying. And I was like,
how did that make you feel?
I was like, I'm gonna bite his nose off. I'm gonna bite his nose.
The explosive confrontation between Lesnar and Jericho was eventually defused by Triple H and Vince McMahon, who stepped in before things could spiral further. But not all of Brock Lesnar's off-script moments were filled with chaos and anger. There was one instance that revealed a completely different side of the beast, one that showed his professionalism and willingness to help others shine. This happened during a match with Drew McIntyre, where Lesnar actually broke character to make sure McIntyre connected with the fans. The moment took place in early 2020 during the build-up to WrestleMania 36, as Drew was being positioned as WWE's next major star. A match against Lesnar was seen as the ultimate test to cement his place at the top. As the bout unfolded, it became clear that Lesnar wasn't just focused on his own dominance, he was paying close attention to McIntyre's big moment. In a key instance, Lesnar broke character to remind McIntyre to pick up the championship belt, ensuring the scene played out perfectly and that Drew came out of the match looking strong. It wasn't a wild or controversial act, but rather a rare glimpse of Brock's respect for the business and for the wrestlers sharing the ring with him. Yet, our next story takes us back to the other extreme to what many consider one of the most shocking events in WWE history, The Undertaker's undefeated WrestleMania streak came to a shocking end in 2014. On April 6th of that year, fans packed the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, ready for a night of unforgettable matches. Among the most anticipated was the battle between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker, a clash that felt larger than life. At the time, The Undertaker's WrestleMania record stood at an astonishing 21-0, a streak that many believed would never be broken. The match itself was a brutal war of endurance, with both men dishing out and absorbing punishing blows. Despite his age and the physical toll of his legendary career, The Undertaker fought with heart and determination, while Lesnar unleashed his trademark power and aggression, seemingly intent on doing the impossible. As the fight wore on, it became clear that Lesnar was in control. He delivered 2 crushing F5s, but The Undertaker, known for his superhuman resilience, kept kicking out, refusing to let his legacy fall without a battle. Then came the moment that would change wrestling history forever. In one of the most shocking moments in WWE history, Brock Lesnar delivered a 3rd and final F5 to The Undertaker. The referee's hand hit the mat 1, 2, 3, and the unthinkable happened. The Undertaker's legendary undefeated WrestleMania streak was over. For a moment, the entire arena fell silent. Fans sat in disbelief, their faces frozen in shock, unable to process what they had just witnessed. The streak that had defined decades of wrestling history had been broken by Brock Lesnar. But Lesnar didn't stop there. On the very next night, during the April 7th, 2014 episode of Monday Night Raw, he and his manager Paul Heyman took to the ring to rub salt in the wound. Heyman, ever the master of provocation, began boasting about Lesnar's historic victory, calling it the ultimate conquest, a slaughter of The Undertaker's legendary streak. The duo reveled in the chaos they had caused, proudly declaring Brock Lesnar as the man who conquered The Undertaker and changed the course of WrestleMania history forever.
Because Brock wasn't done until the streak was dead.
Heyman declared that Lesnar didn't just defeat The Undertaker, he killed the streak. He bragged that Brock was the only man brave enough to step into the ring with the dead man and walk out victorious. With his trademark intensity, Heyman continued to hype Lesnar's accomplishment, calling him the most dominant force in WWE and insisting that his victory had forever changed the company's landscape. Lesnar himself added to the arrogance, boldly proclaiming that he was the best and that no one could ever reach his level of greatness. Throughout the promo, Heyman and Lesnar's gloating and trash talk were met with a wave of mixed emotions from the audience: shock, anger, and disbelief as fans were still processing the death of The Undertaker's legendary streak. But the two superstars weren't done creating unforgettable moments together. Their next major encounter gave fans something completely unexpected. During their brutal SummerSlam match on August 23, 2015, in the midst of an intense and hard-hitting battle, Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker did something that left everyone stunned. They burst into laughter. The match had been built on months of fierce rivalry, with both men trading devastating blows and refusing to back down. The energy in continuing their violent exchange, both legends broke character, smirking and laughing at each other in a surreal, almost cinematic moment that perfectly captured the unpredictable magic of professional wrestling. They suddenly began laughing at each other. Lesnar's face broke into a wide grin, and The Undertaker, known for his dark and intimidating presence, couldn't help but laugh back. The arena erupted with cheers and laughter as fans watched this completely unexpected exchange between two of wrestling's most fearsome rivals. Even the commentators were caught off guard, struggling to find the right words to describe what was happening. It was a rare, genuine moment that reminded everyone how unpredictable wrestling could be. Almost as surprising, however, was another unforgettable incident at the time. Brock Lesnar crashed Hulk Hogan's birthday. Celebration Live on Monday Night Raw. The unscripted and controversial segment not only embarrassed Hogan, but also sparked real tension between the two wrestling icons, creating a moment fans would talk about for years. The incident took place on August 11, 2014, during a special episode of Raw honoring Hogan's birthday. The arena was full of energy as WWE legends and current superstars gathered to celebrate one of the industry's biggest names. Hogan stood in the ring, soaking in the love and applause from the crowd until the familiar sound of Brock Lesnar's entrance music hit. In an instant, the joyful atmosphere turned tense. Lesnar, accompanied by his advocate Paul Heyman, made his way to the ring with a cold, menacing glare. Once inside, he wasted no time grabbing a microphone and making his intentions crystal clear. With a smirk on his face, Lesnar looked directly at Hogan and said, "The party's over, Grandpa." The crowd gasped, and Hogan's smile quickly turned to anger. The tension in the ring escalated fast, but before things could get out of hand, John Cena rushed in and challenged Lesnar to a fight, forcing the Beast to retreat. By now, it was clear that Lesnar had a habit of going off script, and sometimes those moments led to pure comedy instead of chaos. One of the funniest examples came when he completely broke character during a live segment with R-Truth. Brock Lesnar is usually seen as a stoic, intimidating powerhouse who rarely shows any emotion beyond aggression. But in this unforgettable moment, fans got a glimpse of his lighter side. The incident took place on an episode of Monday Night Raw in January 2020. Lesnar and his advocate Paul Heyman were in the ring, delivering one of their classic promos to hype up Brock's upcoming entry into the Royal Rumble. Then, R-Truth grabbed the microphone and hilariously misinterpreted the situation, claiming he was entering the Royal Rumble to face Paul Heyman, not Brock Lesnar. The absurdity of his confusion had the entire audience laughing, and even Lesnar, who's famous for his stone-faced demeanor, couldn't hold it in. He broke character completely, bursting into genuine laughter in front of the live crowd, while Heyman stood beside him, equally caught off guard by R-Truth's unexpected antics. But the real magic happened when the camera cut to Brock Lesnar. For a brief moment, the Beast Incarnate couldn't hold his trademark stern expression. His face broke into a wide grin, and he burst out laughing at R-Truth's hilarious antics. A rare and genuine moment that fans still remember fondly. Yet, not every unforgettable Lesnar moment came from humor. Some were downright embarrassing. One of the most surprising came in 2016 when Brock Lesnar faced Goldberg at Survivor Series. The WWE Universe was buzzing with anticipation as the two powerhouses prepared to collide in a rematch of their infamous WrestleMania 20 encounter, a bout that had disappointed fans when both men left WWE shortly after. Over a decade later, Goldberg returned on October 17th, declaring he had one more spear and one more jackhammer left in him. Lesnar, never one to back down, accepted the challenge through his advocate Paul Heyman. When the bell rang, what followed shocked everyone. Goldberg charged with incredible speed, delivering a thunderous spear that sent Lesnar crashing to the mat. The crowd erupted as Goldberg hit another spear in seconds, leaving Lesnar dazed before lifting him for a devastating jackhammer that ended the match almost instantly. Goldberg finished the match by delivering his signature jackhammer, and the referee's hand hit the mat 1, 2, 3, signaling the end. In under 90 seconds, Goldberg had defeated Brock Lesnar, leaving the WWE Universe in absolute shock. Though Lesnar lost this encounter, he bounced back with a display of sheer dominance in his next legendary match, the squash match against John Cena at SummerSlam 2014. That night is still remembered by fans for the overwhelming brutality Lesnar displayed. Riding high off the momentum of ending The Undertaker's undefeated WrestleMania streak earlier that year, Lesnar faced John Cena, WWE's face and a 15-time world champion, for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. From the opening bell, it was clear this would not be a typical championship match. Lesnar immediately took control, unleashing a relentless series of German suplexes that left Cena powerless on the mat. The commentators, including Michael Cole, Jerry the King Lawler, and John Bradshaw Layfield, were stunned, struggling to articulate the one-sided destruction, with JBL famously shouting, "This is a mauling." Lesnar continued his merciless assault until finally pinning Cena to secure a decisive victory, further cementing his reputation as the most dominant force in WWE and setting the stage for his next colossal showdown with Roman Reigns. The build-up to WrestleMania 31 was packed with high-stakes drama and intense rivalries, none more prominent than the showdown between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Lesnar, the reigning champion, was riding a wave of dominance, while Reigns was being positioned as WWE's next top star. As WrestleMania approached, tensions between the two reached a boiling point, culminating in a segment on the March 23, 2015 episode of Monday Night Raw that would become infamous. The segment was meant to heighten anticipation for their clash, but instead, it became one of the most mocked and criticized moments in WWE history. Lesnar and Reigns engaged in a literal tug-of-war over the championship belt, and the image of two grown men, both portrayed as fierce competitors, struggling over a title like children fighting over a toy, immediately drew backlash. What was intended as a dramatic showdown came off as childish and farcical, leaving fans bewildered. Lesnar's aggression, however, was never in question, and one of the most memorable examples of it occurred when he targeted the group known as 3M Tribai, consisting of Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal. Typically portrayed as a comedic trio far from the main event scene, 3MB found themselves on the wrong end of Lesnar's wrath on the April 15, 2013 episode of Monday Night Raw, facing a level of destruction they were completely unprepared for. The members of 3M Mauler had never faced anything like this before, and the crowd erupted, sensing that chaos was about to unfold. Lesnar, flanked by his advocate Paul Heyman, stormed to the ring with pure determination etched on his face. The trio tried to put on a brave front, but it was obvious they were hopelessly outmatched. What followed was a brutal and relentless assault. Lesnar dismantled Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal with a relentless series of suplexes, F5s, and vicious strikes, leaving them in a crumpled heap. Some fans thought Lesnar's aggression was excessive, but this was far from the last time he unleashed his fury on weaker opponents. Lesnar's wrath has also famously extended beyond the ring, targeting WWE commentators and cameramen in moments of pure chaos. One of the most notorious incidents occurred on the March 30th, 2015 episode of Monday Night Raw. Enraged after losing the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31, Lesnar stormed the ring demanding a rematch. When his demands were ignored, his anger boiled over, and he attacked anyone in his path. One victim was commentator Michael Cole, whom Lesnar grabbed by the neck and slammed with a devastating F5. He didn't stop there, turning his rage on the rest of the production crew, delivering F5 after F5 to anyone nearby. Stephanie McMahon stepped in and suspended Lesnar, but even that didn't immediately curb his rampage, cementing his reputation as an unstoppable force both inside and outside the ring. Paul Heyman, ever the opportunist, used the chaos to further cement Brock Lesnar's image as an uncontrollable force of nature. One of the most controversial displays of his brutality came at SummerSlam 2016, where Lesnar faced Randy Orton in a match that would leave fans stunned. Fresh off his victory over Mark Hunt at UFC 200, Lesnar entered the ring with his signature intensity, immediately taking control and delivering a relentless series of suplexes to Orton. The crowd watched in awe as the Beast incarnate dominated. But Orton, the 12-time world champion, fought back with his trademark moves, keeping the match competitive. Just as it seemed the bout was heading toward a thrilling finish, Lesnar took things to an extreme, removing his gloves and unleashing a series of vicious elbows to Orton's forehead. The strikes caused a deep gash, leaving Orton bleeding heavily, and the match was stopped with Lesnar declared the winner. Lesnar's rivalries have always been intense, and his 2016 feud with Dean Ambrose was no exception. Their clash, leading up to WrestleMania 32, was one of the most violent and hard-hitting rivalries in recent WWE history. Fans packed AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, eagerly anticipating the showdown between the Beast incarnate and the Lunatic Fringe. As the match began, Ambrose relied on his speed and agility, attempting to counter Lesnar's overwhelming power, setting the stage for a brutal and unforgettable battle. Dean Ambrose tried to use his speed and agility to outmaneuver Brock Lesnar, but the match quickly devolved into a violent brawl, Lesnar with his raw power and reeling. Ambrose brought an array of weapons into the match, including kendo sticks, steel chairs, and even a chainsaw, but the extreme violence only highlighted the intensity of their rivalry. Despite his best efforts, Ambrose endured a relentless beating from Lesnar, who ultimately disarmed him and executed a devastating F5 onto a pile of steel chairs to secure a decisive victory. Another notable moment in Lesnar's career came with The Beast in the East Special in July 2015. WWE announced the event, which took place at the Ryogoku Kokugiken in Tokyo, Japan, and was broadcast live on the WWE Network on July 4th. The main attraction was Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston. Kingston, a fan favorite known for his high-flying style and agility, was seen as a clear underdog against the Beast incarnate. Fans filled the arena, eager to witness the spectacle, but the match turned out to be a short and one-sided affair. Lesnar immediately dominated, overwhelming Kingston with his sheer strength and aggression. Within minutes, he executed a German suplex followed by an F5, securing a quick and decisive victory. Reactions from fans were mixed. Some were thrilled by the display of Lesnar's dominance, while others were disappointed by the match's brevity. And the perceived lack of effort from Lesnar's brutal attacks aren't the only things that wraps up the wild and chaotic moments that have defined Brock Lesnar's career. But his controversies extend beyond the ring and into his contracts. One of the most debated aspects of his WWE career has been his part-time schedule. Unlike other superstars who perform regularly on weekly shows and live events, Lesnar's appearances have been limited to major pay-per-views and select episodes of Monday Night Raw. This arrangement has sparked heated discussion among fans, fellow wrestlers, and critics. The controversy began in 2012 when Lesnar returned to WWE after an 8-year hiatus. His contract allowed him to work a limited number of dates, focusing primarily on high-profile matches and marquee events. While this setup was financially beneficial for both Lesnar and WWE, it became a point of contention. For fans, his infrequent appearances were a double-edged sword. On one hand, each appearance felt like a special event, adding to his mystique and drawing massive attention. On the other hand, many were frustrated by his absence from weekly programming, the lack of consistent storylines, and the perception that Lesnar was primarily motivated by money rather than commitment to the product.